And Iso was a #3 company. Producing motorcycle was after Lambretta was the first one, Vespa, and Iso. But the market collapsed because everybody wanted four wheels, no? And we survived for a certain period selling this motorcycle in different countries, but it became very difficult. So we started with the Isetta, and Isetta we have a big support from BMW, so they built the Isetta for a certain part of the world, we built for some other part of the world. But you know, on the small car you need a lot of capital, and Fiat in Italy was very strong. So we decided to go into the sports car because the passion. We like to drive very, very, very fast, my father and myself. And we tried Ferrari, Maserati, but we never arrived at destination. There was always something wrong with them at that time.
What's this? The Iso Rivolta GT.
The idea was to have 4 people accommodating with a big space. I remember my father was still alive when we did that, he died immediately after. And he wanted to sit down with the head and take away the head. So I think we have enough space to feel comfortable. This at that time was a very, very fast car and very easy to drive, because the concept was we have not to learn how to drive a car and to correct the mistake of the car. We have to have a car that forgive us, so we can go as fast as we can.
Perfect. What would it have been like to be in his young 20s, chasing all the beautiful Italian women, and then chasing something else? So you had a very interesting encounter where you were driving one of these, if memory serves me correctly.
Yes, what are you talking about? My wife?
No, I'm talking about when you got in a race with a 400 Super America on the outside.
Oh yeah, that became my hobby. When I was driving, this guy coming up to the wall. My hobby was to chase. I don't know why. I didn't like Ferrari. I never liked it. Because they were promising a lot, were not delivering a lot. And so my idea was always to follow them and push them until they gave up, because they were very difficult to drive, so the people got tired. So perhaps another guy, the Super American Ferrari, blew up the engine, and so I stopped and I told him he has a beautiful dog inside the center, and they say I can take you to some place, and I took him there. And when I was going out to the highway, another Ferrari went through, and I was with my mother, saying, we missed this one. And so after the guy, when we finished, he told me, who are you? I didn't say my name because I was a little bit embarrassed for what I said. So I gave the name of my brother-in-law. And he received a beautiful letter, say thank you very much, and so on. And he didn't understand, because I never told that to my brother-in-law until he called me. What did you think about this guy from Turkey? So that was one. I did many of these episodes, yes.
And then you were making 4-seat cars.
Yeah.
And then you went into the 2-seat market with the Grifo, which the prototype was shown in 1963, and that car is sitting over in the Iso display. And then they took about 18 months to engineer the car for production. Why did you go into the 2-seat market?
We needed more sexy car. We presented this car the idea just to have more attention on the market. And after we found there is a certain request. But we never believed too much in this car, so we never did all the mold and all the tooling that we did for the other one, that we were producing a certain number. But it was very successful. That was, we need some sexy. At that point, you know, after came out Maserati with the Ghibli, and so it started that period of this very beautiful 2-seat sports car in Italy, and we were right in the middle of that. And that car did very well. We didn't ever expect for two small seat car to do so well.
So it's much like the Lamborghini Mira, that they only expected to sell about 50 or something like that, and so it's the same with you and the Grifo.
Yeah.
And then if memory serves me correctly, your first year, full year of production, which was 1966, you made almost 100.
Yeah, something like that, more than 100 days.
Perfect. This one here could have, this is the Grifo GL, it had a top speed if you had the 365 horse engine in it of about 160 miles an hour. But at that time in Italy, there was a bit of, for lack of a better term, a top speed war going on. Am I correct? And where did you hear about that everyone was so interested in speed? Was it customers telling you that? Was it, were you hearing out at parties, or how did you know that?
There was a lot of bets going on. For instance, we were going up and down from Torino very often because we were doing some park in Torino, and the idea was how many minutes did you take to go to Torino and come back? I remember one night I had a party with Quail and in Torino I came back with my wife, and I was very tired, and I say, we have to go to bed as fast as we can. So it took 31 minutes to go 130 kilometers. And after this started the race, everybody was going from Torino and back. They have to put how many minutes. It was usually between 29 and 31. And after we start also to do with Rome, or 3 hours. We never reached 3 hours, always more than 3 hours. So it was a kind of speed feeling that came up, kind of, and everybody was driving as fast as they could.
And so in that quest for speed, now you'll notice that this car is slightly different than the previous Grifo, in that we have a hood scoop here, you have a badge here on the B-pillar that says 7 litri, which stands for 7 liters. The difference between this and the previous three Isos is those all had Corvette 327s in them. And that was one of the keys to Iso's success, was the cars were built to never give you a problem. And certain models had their own connecting rods and large oil pans so they could go at high speeds for an extended period of time. But 160 miles an hour was no longer enough. So the way you rectified that was
the 7 liters.
And how did that whole story come about?
We were thinking to do that, but at the moment came a gentleman that tell me that you remember the name.
Corti,
you're right. And he wanted to go a certain speed. It drove me nuts, So I said, okay, we do the 7 liter for you. And we did the first 7 liter was yellow, I remember.
That's correct.
And I ordered a few engines because I also put the 7 liter. I was racing on the idle point at that time. So I have a 7 liter on the 9 of my engine, my motorboat. And so we use this engine and create the 7 liters. That is really a fun car.
Perfect.
Also, the owner of Quail Rivolta, the Italian magazine, he bought the 7 liter.
It was, when equipped with a 5-speed transmission, the 7 liter was good for about 175, 180 miles an hour. And so it was legitimately a contender for the fastest car in the world. This model here is called the Lele, and there's an interesting story behind this model's name.
Yes, my wife, she always liked, I like all the women presents. Right at Christmas, I forgot completely to buy a Christmas present. So the night before, I got an idea. I took a piece of wood, and I wrote that I will give you a full line of cars, and I call Lele. My wife is Rachele, but everybody call Lele. My wife, she was quite offended because they said that is a trick of the last minute. You should not have done that. But okay, now I've done. So after we didn't know how to promote that to the press. So the press was, my wife gave me a daughter, that is Marella Zagato Rivolta, that is here in some place, and she's making the Zagato car with her. And so I gave a line of car. But what the second thought was just to adjust the situation. Was not that the real reason. The real reason I'd forgotten to give a present for Christmas.
And the previous cars were designed by Giugiaro when he was at Bertone, and then you went back to Bertone to do this one, and you worked with Gandini, Marcello Gandini.
That was the same chassis of the GT. We thought the GT arrived at the end because it was a little bit old, and we did this.
The next car coming up is, you took a pretty bold move into the
brought
photo.
Ricky.
What made you do that?
Oh, you do? He's got Ricky the dog with him.
I saw it.
Why, you know, I used to use a grifo, and it was very tight for me. I changed even the back inside. The after became production changed because I have to put my big dog because I was going hunting. And at the moment, you know, we need things to move around. Me and my wife are going everywhere, so I think we need a big car. But I want a fast and big car. I think there is a market for people that really wants to drive a car like a Grifo, but it's a four-door. So I started this production that was competing a little bit with the Maserati four-doors, but it was a little bit more aggressive. Unfortunately, it was a little bit ahead of the time. Now is the market is going like that now. Now you see a lot of four-door, very sportive. Some magazine, I saw in some magazine 2 days ago that the new BMW 60, somebody said 6, they say, they are thinking like Rivolta thought or thinking in before was more divided. A sports car has to be a small car. For me, a sports car is not to be, it means that it has to go fast. So it doesn't matter if it's small or big. It has to go fast, it has to stay on the road. I don't do this definition. But it took years to arrive to this conclusion. Now we are at that point.
Perfect. When this car was being built, the car world started changing a bit with the American DOT laws and other things. This is, I'm driving the Beretta. This is a one-off called the Beretta. And driving it is Renzo Rivolta Zagato, which is Piero Rivolta.
Now she's the boss of everybody. And believe me,
And then, so if you want to get out, this is the next generation of the Rivolta family.
boss.
Yeah. This is Morella. She's managing director of Zagato. Would that be correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Yeah.
And my son on the side, and the other side is making the yachts. So.
Now you went to a mid-engine car. Why?
Because at a certain moment we thought that we have to go into that to get a little. We need another sexy car. The Grifo was old, so we invented this thing. But I sold the company a few months later, so it was never put in production.
And what's interesting is at this time in Italian history of the automotive industry is there was a lot of stuff going on where you had the DOT laws and there was social strife. So these cars weren't selling like they did before, correct?
The people that were buying these cars, especially in Europe, they would receive tomato when they were driving around, not because they were considered rich. And so we went through I remember that the Tommaso used to say, when you sell a car, you sell also a cross to this guy, you know? So, and that was true. And after the money became difficult, instead of millions of dollars, you have to talk about billions. The big company came in, the small company, they couldn't survive anymore. So everybody sold. I was the last one to sell. I was in I think that Ferrari sold in 69.
69.
I sold in 72. I started with I did a combination with an international corporation that was based in New York. They have many factories, and they want the Iso name as to give prestige to the other factory, but they didn't do very well. We have a big fight. A strong takeover, what is it? Nasty takeover. I didn't have the power to sustain the fight, and I had to leave. And that was the end of my life with this car. But after my daughter and my son-in-law, they put me in trouble. Not me directly, but they put me in the old atmosphere again. And that is very nice.
So you basically, Piero was forced out of his company by what was in essence a hostile takeover. But before you did that, you did a foray into Formula One.
Yes. We did 2 years of Formula One with Frank Williams, who was our manager. He was a great man. And we got the money from Marlboro. Marlboro, they were in Switzerland. I remember that Frank was going to Switzerland and sitting in front of the office of the CEO of Marlboro. They were not leaving, even in the night when they were closing the place. If you don't give me money, I don't leave. A certain moment came home with a huge truck for Formula One with written another name, I think was, I don't remember, some other team. And he got the truck, so we have only to repaint it because the truck was perfect, was new. So they decided to give the truck to us because Mr. Williams didn't move out of the office. And we raced, and we did quite well. The car was very competitive. Unfortunately, in that period, there were two drivers that they were unbeatable. They were Jackie Stewart and Fittipaldi, so we always raced behind them. We didn't have the money to pay for a driver like that. We have good driver. We never gave them a penny. They always paid expensive to them. So they were nice people, but but we did well. We were more or less like Ferrari. We were sometime before, sometime in the middle. So, but these two people, they were running away, and that's it.
But then compared to today in Formula One, where it's hundreds of millions of dollars, do you have any idea what your budget was at the time?
They were, what we put in we received a lot of money from other people, from other company, but it was $200,000-300,000 or something like that. It was really nothing compared to now. It was nice. It was a family. It was a kind of a club, a nice family business with everybody. We know each other. It was very nice. And I think now it's different. It's more aggressive. $1 trillion, all these kind of things. So we have to walk away. The Williams has to go on because he found the money from the Quail people, and he did very well. He won for many years with the same car, a little bit changed, but was the same car.
Then after your company closed, you came to the U.S.
Yeah. And not immediately. I worked around the world in different sides of the world, but I decided to move to the United States because too many red tape in Italy and too many problems with bureaucracy. The government was everywhere. It's very difficult to do. And I'm a creative man. I want to be a free man, and I felt very close. And so I came to the United States, and in 1979 I moved my family, my daughter, my son, everybody, my wife, and we became American. We worked from Sarasota. My daughter is still American, and he's running the Zagato with his husband in Italy, Milan. And from here I did some work in Italy. We did some new cars. We did the Rivolta 90. We did some experiments, but very complicated. We did some car for Far East. We did a car for, I think what was, I don't know, I don't even remember the country. So we did some car here and there. And I have a little office in Brazil called Rivolta Design do Brasil, which was working for Fiat, Toyota, and Ford. But at a certain moment I gave up a few years ago, and now I only do buildings, projects like that, and yachts. Yachts are the same problem in the car. You never know if you make money or if you lose money, but it's so nice to make this. I do sailing boats, I do a motor yacht. Everything is a little bit at the edge of the standing. I did a sailing boat of 90 foot and all carbon fiber, sail at 14 knots across the ocean in the turf one time. And I like to see things happen. That is my weakness.
And so today you're down in Florida, basically doing real estate, and you're also writing some books and such.
Yes, and now I write a lot. I always wrote in my life, but now I became a quite serious author. my last book is out. It's called Journey Beyond 2012. So the kind of the three people that they have a different interpretation of what will happen in December 2012, what is supposed to happen. And it's quite an interesting book to read because it's about the human condition. I like to examine how the people react to certain events. So in the night I don't watch television. I write with a fountain pen by hand. The problem is the lady that have to take that and put in the computer. And I have one that understands to do that. If she quit, I cannot write anymore.
And final question would be, if you had to give any advice to someone who wanted to start a car company today, like your family did, what would it be?
To find some trillions of dollars before. and get ready to lose some at the beginning, perhaps on the whole, and then the run they will make something. But find a lot of money. That is very important.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Piero.
Thank you very much. Thank you.